Shopping for a supercar is not like buying any other vehicle. Take a crossover, for example. You're considering fuel economy and USB ports. But a supercar needs to meld with your soul. You need to be improved in some way. A Ferrari amplifies your bravado. A Lamborghini creates this aura of excitement. What about a McLaren? What about this McLaren? This is the all-new 720S. Well, guess we should figure that out. Let's take a second to acknowledge how cool this cabin is, and to do that we have to start with the doors. So not just scissor doors, but gull wing with this cutout here in the center, and those are filled with windows above you, creates a lot of space. I dig it. I actually think these are some of the coolest doors I've ever seen on a car, any car. Point A. Point B, this digital display in front of us. What's cool about it is not just that it's all digital, or that you can reconfigure it in a number of different ways, but that depending on what drive mode you're in, it will actually completely manipulate itself. So I can force it to do it over here with a button, or I engage track mode here, and it will go down automatically. C, this steering wheel. It's this Alcantara and carbon fiber mixture here with these giant paddles that are mounted on the steering rack, not on the column itself. D is the center stack. You have your drive, neutral, and reverse. Drive select here. There is no park mode. You just put it in neutral and then you pull the e-brake and then the car knows that you're not going anywhere. And you have a launch button down here, which is super fun to play with. E, I don't know why I'm still doing the alphabet, but whatever. You have your powertrain and your suspension adjustment. So what you do is you hit this active button here, then the car knows you actually want to change something, and you slot between comfort, sport, and track powertrain, and the same for your suspension. And then you have this tablet here, which to me looks like an iPad mini has been wedged into the center display, and it works pretty well. It's got navigation, your Bluetooth, all of your other normal infotainment functions, and while not as cutting edge, I would say, as some of the stuff that you're seeing in BMW and Audi and some other luxury players, it's still very intuitive, way better than the first iteration of supercar infotainments. There are a handful of cars I have driven that have helped me press the reset button on their segment, so I didn't really understand what a luxury experience felt like in a vehicle until I drove the Rolls-Royce Phantom. I didn't get how fun a pickup truck could be until I drove the Ford Raptor. And I didn't understand the extent of performance vehicle engineering until I drove the predecessor to this car, the McLaren 650S. So you have to believe I was pretty darn stoked to drive the 720. And it lives up to expectations. But I will say this, in the time since the 650S was introduced to the market, the supercar segment has, well, the competition's gotten pretty stiff. So among the direct rivals to the 720S, the Lamborghini Huracan Performante, a car that I drove on the racetrack in Italy and was pretty blown away by. There's the new Porsche 911 GT2 RS, which is the most insane 911 ever built. It has 700 horsepower in a rear-engine, rear-drive machine. It's weird. And then there's the 4GT, which is an absolute weapon on a racetrack, but it costs $450,000, which is 150 grand more than this car costs. And there's more to the story, because the 720S, with its 4-liter twin-turbocharged V8, makes more power than all of those cars. 710 horsepower. 0 to 60, 2.7 seconds. And that's not even the impressive number. No, the impressive number is the 0 to 100 mile per hour time of 7.8 seconds. And I want you to think through this with me for a second. A Honda Civic gets to 60 miles an hour in a little over 8 seconds. So your family sedan has hit 60 when this car has exceeded 100 miles an hour. What? And beyond those numbers, here's where it really gets good for me with the 720S. It's the level of refinement that McLaren has brought to this car. The brand new carbon fiber monocoque chassis, the revised suspension, the aerodynamic improvements, it's all good. And the 4-liter V8, as opposed to the 3.8-liter unit that we experienced with the 650S, is just that much smoother throughout the power band, all the way up to an 8,500 RPM rev limit. The way it builds power is just this swelling force, whereas the 3.8 V8 from the 650 kind of just hit you like a normal turbocharged engine. This just, it gives and gives and gives. Woo! And I don't want to make it sound like this car has been neutered in any sort of way. Refinement doesn't necessarily have to mean neutered. No, in this car, the sensation of speed is to a new level, and yet the way you can drive it on a daily basis is such that you want to drive it on a daily basis. The gearbox, it honestly, the 7-speed dual clutch, it feels like a regular automatic or maybe even a CVT when you're just cruising around town. The smoothness, it feels like there are infinite gear ratios. But then when you get on it in like track mode, for example, the shifts are instant. I'm gonna show you. So I'm in second gear right now, and I'm gonna level into it a bit. Boost, shift, hard on the brake, down to second. It's that fast. Shift. I bit my tongue, I was accelerating so hard. The gear changes are telepathic. It's unbelievable. So how does the McLaren 720S elevate you? Well, it effectively confirms your intelligence.